I, 28 male, am still trying to understand the events of the last month. My ex-girlfriend Julie, 29, thinks that my current girlfriend, Mindy, 28, is manipulative and sabotaged our 4-year relationship. I was in a loving relationship with Julie for the last 4 years. We met through some mutual friends. Julie and I were very compatible in terms of our love for outdoor activities and running. We have very similar lifestyles and supported each other well for the last 4 years. We've also been living together for the last 3 years. We even discussed getting married during the summer. Everything was great and I planned to propose to her over the holidays. However, I started to see changes in Julie's behavior around September. She was acting distant and looked stressed. It was quite noticeable and I was worried. I trust her wholeheartedly and I couldn't imagine she would be cheating on me. However, she did spend more time by herself. Around the same time, Julie's friend Mindy messaged me privately and asked me if I could meet her secretly, as she wanted to tell me something about Julie. Mindy and Julie work together and I've known Mindy ever since I started dating Julie. I was surprised, but to be honest, I assumed the worst. I met her at a cafe after work. She asked me if things were going okay between Julie and me. She told me that Julie had said to her that she was planning to leave me soon. This was a total shock to me. I asked her if there was anyone else that Julie was interested in, and she said no. Julie confided in her that she wasn't sure about marrying me. She told me she had to tell me this as she didn't want me to be blindsided. I was devastated. I started putting more effort into making our relationship more exciting, planning more dates, etc. Mindy was also helping me through this time in telling me more about what Julie told her. Eventually, before Thanksgiving, Julie said to me that she loved me, but she wanted to take a break for a month to live alone. She said that she just wanted to live alone for a month to make sure she wanted to marry me. I was completely heartbroken. I asked her if she wanted to pursue someone else. She told me that was not the case, and I better not do anything stupid either. She loves me with all her heart, but she just wants to stay away from me to ensure she's marrying me for love, not because she's used to being with me. I didn't understand that at all. I told her that if she's not sure after 4 years if she wants to marry me, then maybe we should just break up. We had a big fight and broke up after a few days. As our lease was ending, we decided to part ways in December. She got a new apartment and I kept our old apartment and just took her name off the lease. After the breakup, I felt very lonely as I wasn't used to being in the apartment alone. I didn't want to keep being sad and invited many friends for a New Year's party. I also invited Mindy. We had a good time and my friends did their best to cheer me up. Mindy also mingled with my friends and it was good. Mindy decided to stay back to help me clean up and we hooked up that night. I felt guilty, but Mindy did cheer me up. Since then, we've hung out almost daily at my place. I'm still sad about Julie, but I won't lie, being with Mindy makes me happy. She's sweet and caring. Last Sunday, we woke up and someone was banging on the door. I went to open it and it was Julie. She looked furious and started yelling at me. She kept on accusing me of cheating on her. I told her I most certainly did not cheat on her and she was the one who broke up with me. Mindy was also at my apartment. Julie was just angry at both of us. She started calling Mindy a manipulative witch and told me that Mindy was the one who suggested to her that she should take some time away from me to understand her true feelings. I calmed her down and asked her to explain herself. She told me that since our marriage conversation, she told Mindy about it, and Mindy kept on asking Julie if she was sure about marrying me. Mindy suggested she take some time to understand her true feelings and that I will understand and give her space. When I said no, Mindy convinced her that I was so controlling that I couldn't even give her 1 month to herself and convinced her to break up with me. Mindy told me she didn't say such things. These were all Julie's ideas, and she was just there during these conversations. She did tell Julie that she told me about some of the things so that I get a chance to make things right with her over the last few months. That made Julie more angry, and she started accusing me of emotionally cheating on her. Julie told me that the last few weeks have made her realize that we were meant to be together, but now she cannot believe I could move on from a 4-year relationship in a week. On one hand, I want to believe Julie, but she broke up with me for no fault of my own. Mindy was there for me when I was down, but now I also doubt her. She suddenly started talking to me out of the blue as we'd never really been close before, and she immediately became my support after the breakup, although Julie was her close friend. Am I the idiot to emotionally cheat on Julie? Should I have told her about Mindy's texts? Should I not have moved on from her so quickly even though Julie broke up with me? I was just hurting and Mindy was right there to support me. I need advice from someone with a clear mind on what is going on. Mindy played you both. It's kind of obvious from what you wrote. Man, talk to Julie. If you guys have been dating for 4 years to the point you're about to propose to her, you likely know her well enough to tell if she's probably lying or not. Hear her out and go with your gut. Even if you choose not to reconcile or believe her, I'd still take a break from dating Mindy. You rebounded hard. 1 week after a 4-year relationship ends, you're already sleeping with someone else. Take your time to mourn the relationship and center yourself. No need to rush into anything. I hope you're using protection. Otherwise, I expect Mindy will soon notify you of her pregnancy. Yeah, the dude messed up. The level of obliviousness from OP is kinda shocking. I find it upsetting that he doesn't trust Julie's word over Mindy. He claims to have loved and trusted Julie, yet Mindy was supposedly Julie's friend and crap-talked her and jumped in bed with him at the first opportunity. Friends don't do that. I bet Julie wouldn't treat a friend that way. And I bet when in several years Mindy goes full-out Gone Girl on him, he'll be all surprised Pikachu face, but there were no red flags at all. Mindy knew exactly what she was doing when she volunteered to stay behind after the New Year's Eve party to help OP clean. Mindy played Julie. OP played himself. Mindy is the catalytic idiot. OP is definitely the one who kept the fire-burning idiot, while Julie fell for the manipulation of what was supposed to be her best friend and her entire relationship. Wow, poor girl. Imagine the destruction Mindy might cause with some other person she doesn't want in OP's life. I once knew someone like that. Luckily, everyone started to see her true personality, and it was twisted. Good riddance to her. I feel like Julie dodged a bullet. Now she's not marrying a man who sneaks around with women behind her back and sleeps with her friends. This has been a built-up issue. My son got married this weekend and this issue isn't dying, so I'm going here. My daughter has very bad anxiety. She's 19 and I'll call her Shelley. Shelley used to go to therapy when she was a minor but stopped when she turned 18. Ever since then, her anxiety has been out of control and due to this she won't drive anymore. She has a license but refuses to drive. We live in the USA and driving is basically needed, or it's a big inconvenience for the people around her. Also, she's an adult, so it's not like we can force her to drive. This is the issue. My son was getting married and she was uncomfortable with so many people around at his wedding. She asked me to take her home. I told her no and that if she was having difficulties, she should wait in the car. She told me it was freezing outside and she needed to leave. I told her no again, to turn on the heat in the car and to wait if she needed to be away from people. She didn't like this answer and told me she would have an attack if she stayed and she needed to go home. I told her to take an Uber then, I wasn't leaving. She didn't like this and this was turning into a full argument. Shelley told me I needed to take her home again and I had enough. I told Shelley she was being selfish, that she had many opinions and that I wouldn't deprive her brother, my son, of his parents being at his weddings. If I took her home, I would miss his wedding since it was an hour's drive there. She called me a jerk and left to stay in the car for a bit. She was back about an hour later for the rest of the wedding. She's been angry since and her younger brother is copying her. Am I the idiot? Thank God you said no. Notice how she magically was able to cope when push came to shove. That tells you a lot. She's used to getting her way, and it's high time she starts living in the real world and taking responsibility for her own life. She needs to stop using anxiety, a perfectly normal emotion, as an excuse not to push herself to learn tools to cope and to take responsibility for her own life and future, including seeking therapy if needed. Her emotional manipulation and threats need to lose the power they've had in the past, not the idiot. It's called good parenting. She's 19, not 9. Notice how she didn't say, I might have a panic attack, but rather, drive me home or I will have a panic attack. She's weaponized her anxiety disorder. I wouldn't be surprised if the older bro had a ton of stories about her using her anxiety as a way to hijack lots of important moments in his life while growing up. OP, your poor son would never have forgotten it if you'd left. Exactly, Shelley has been accommodated for way too long. She does nothing to manage or mitigate her own issues and expects everyone to drop everything to do what she feels she needs. Thinking that it's okay to pull you away from your son's wedding? That's absolutely unacceptable. You need to start dealing with her differently, showing respect for yourself and others. It's her choice whether or not she goes to therapy. It's your choice whether or not you're a full-time caretaker and chauffeur to a grown woman who refuses to treat her own illnesses. She needs professional help and personal boundaries. After CPS got involved, my husband and I, both 33 and male, recently became guardians of my niece, Ella, teen. There's a lot of background here that I need to get out of the way first. Ella's father is my brother, Tom, and Ella's mom died due to complications delivering my other niece, Becca, pre-tween. Ella was 7 at the time and she blamed Becca for their mom's death. She quickly became furious and expressed hatred for her sister and made comments about how Becca should have been the one to die. Instead of that, Becca stole her mom from her. Tom did not get Ella any help. I got involved and warned him Ella wasn't coping well and things would turn nasty. Tom said he was helping the girls' relationship and that's all that would be needed. Then, 2 years later, with no therapy and no improvement in the relationship between the girls, Tom married Sarah. This is where things went from bad to worse. Becca adored Sarah and started calling her mom almost immediately. This only angered Ella more. She would get so angry at her dad, at her sister, at her stepmom, and she would tell Becca she deserved to die and how dare she replace the woman who died because of her. She told Tom he was sick for doing that to her mom. She told Sarah she was stealing from her mom, she hated her and her ugly face, and that she would never be good enough. These things happened out in the open and were witnessed by our extended family, but they also went on at home. Sarah did her best to try and get Ella help, but Tom wasn't on board, and Sarah wasn't the right person to do it. CPS became involved after Ella called them on Sarah and wanted to get Becca and Sarah separated at all costs. She wanted to punish her sister for calling Becca's mom and wanted to punish Becca too. It became clear after CPS got involved that while Sarah was not a danger to Becca, Ella and Becca could not continue to live together in the environment they were in. They only took things so seriously because Ella told the social worker after wishing Becca and Sarah dead and telling them how much she hates her sister. My husband and I stepped up and offered to take Ella, which CPS agreed to. When I spoke to them about the rules and how things would be handled, they said not to set up visits with Tom or Becca for Ella and to get Ella therapy, but they said we could attend larger family functions even if they would be there if we wanted to, but it would likely be better not to. I already knew this. My husband and I discussed it and agreed we should all stay away while Ella is with us and still struggling as much as she is. I told my family what we'd decided, and they didn't understand why we couldn't have quick visits or try to expose the girls to each other in short bursts. I said I felt it would be bad for both of them, but mostly for Ella, who I had to prioritize as she needed so much help. My family then claimed my big announcement was like a screw you to them. Tom was enraged. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Tom has failed to help her, so it's great she has you step up. She's not ready to be around Becca and Sarah. She needs therapy, love, and time. And you're protecting Becca. She doesn't need to be around someone who hates her that much. Poor Becca has been abused her entire life by Ella. She's gonna need help. It feels like no one in your family has taken seriously Ella's behavior in the past 8 years. 8 years of believing it's nothing, just a phase, a tiny adjustment, and more minimizing magical thinking. Honestly, I don't care that the rest of your family doesn't understand. Do what is best for Ella. This is what CPS expects of you, and this is what Ella finally deserves. The rest of your family is in denial about Ella's extreme dysfunction if they support Tom's position. I, 26 male, have been married to my wife Emma for 4 years. She was a social work major whom I met in one of my general education classes. I explained to her I was a mechanical engineering major. She then asked if I could tutor her in math, and that's how we began dating. Afterward, I decided to get my master's in Japanese to help me gain more career opportunities. My wife thought it was a silly idea and said she wouldn't be funding it, so we decided to keep our finances separate. It wasn't a big deal since I was still working anyway. I just had less free time, so she was making more than me during this time. It paid off and I recently landed a high-paying job, and with it came more stress due to me having to travel to Japan often. I've been wanting to get into gaming, so I invested in computer parts costing around $1,500. Once I took the parts out of the box, my wife noticed the receipt and asked how I could be irresponsible with my money. She assumed I still made the same amount, but when I told her that I made triple that amount, she began giving me the silent treatment. During this time, I began to notice my things were going missing. I wanted to go fishing with some friends once, and when I was looking for my rods, she must have noticed and said that she'd given them to her uncle. I told her not to take my stuff without asking, but didn't mind too much because they were old, so I just bought some more. Another time I was about to go to the gym and I was looking for my pre-workout. I always keep 3 jars. Luckily I had a can of Monster and that helped. I asked my wife when she got home from work and she said she'd given them to her cousin. I asked her to reimburse me because they cost $50 a jar. She said I made enough to replace them and just ignored me for the rest of the day. One day when she thought I was asleep, she was talking to someone on the phone explaining how she was going to move my parents into our house. She hadn't explained this to me. We only have 3 rooms. One is her office, one is my office game room, and the other is our bedroom. She told the person on the phone, who I assume is her sister, that she's going to give my gaming setup to her brother to make room and that I'll get over it eventually. So today I left work early to catch her in the middle of her plans, and when I walked into our apartment, she and her brother were there placing everything into a box. I asked what was going on, and my wife, whose face was pale, said she was cleaning when her brother came by. I asked him if he planned on taking my computer. Of course, he denied it. So I went into the room to get the iPad we shared. I looked through the text there and it clearly shows my wife telling him when to pick it up and to deny that he had it. I told him to get out and asked her why she thinks she's so entitled to my stuff. I've never yelled at her, and I guess this scared her because she began to cry. She ended up packing a bag and went to stay with her sister. While she was out, I picked up a lock for my office. Her sister texted me calling me an idiot. I'm beginning to think I could have handled this better. Not the idiot. Stealing, lying, making major life decisions without you, not being supportive of you when you decide to get more education, and then punishing you when you get a good job as a result. She doesn't respect you as a human being. Yeah, saying leaving her over a computer is a ridiculous way to phrase it. You're not leaving her over a computer. You're leaving the toxic marriage. Get the heck out. Exactly, you're not leaving her over a computer. You're leaving her because she's an immature, dishonest idiot who's stealing your stuff. Time to toss the leech out and hand her papers. Change the locks on the exterior doors. Pack her crap and put it outside. Tell the rest of her thieving family accomplices to come get it. Separate your finances utterly. New credit cards. Kill the old joint ones, new passwords on financial accounts. File for divorce as soon as you can. Do not go cheap on this. A good lawyer could save money in alimony. She probably doesn't have enough money to pay a good one anyway. Go big and be happy that you don't have kids. Good luck, man. Find someone who isn't a thief.